Hello, welcome to Groot's Technical Analysis. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to discuss Bitcoin and how we could potentially be at the bottom. I'm not going to say that for sure because there is not anybody in the world who knows when the bottom will be, but we can start to see signs that we could possibly be there. This is not an indication to buy. This is not a recommendation to buy anything. I am not a financial advisor, and anything I say or show you on these charts and in my channel is for educational and entertainment purposes only. However, using technical analysis, we can have a better idea of when it is time to buy and when it is time to sell. So, using the moving averages, and I put Bitcoin on a 3-day chart. Now, I've just isolated the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. And what do I see? Well, I see potential bottoms in the past, right? So I see the 50-day crossing the 200-day here, and then 1 month later, the bottom of Bitcoin hits, right? And then it monkeys around for a while, hits that same bottom, and then ventures off into the next bull market. Into the next bear market, what do we see? We see another 50-day moving average crossing the 200, and then 1 month later, we get the bottom, okay? Comes back up, a relief bounce, back into bearish territory, one more try down, another bounce, and then into the bull market again. Well, we just had this happen again recently. So back in what looks like May, the 50-day moving average crosses the 200, and about a month later, we get a big capitulation down to that 17.6 mark. So we could potentially see this as the bottom of Bitcoin. Now, it's still yet to be seen. We still need a lot of other things to show us that this would be a good time to buy. But we can also look at the RSI on these three circles. So the RSI is showing us very oversold, very oversold, and very oversold, right? Now, we also have what's called divergence, and that is when the price is moving in a downward direction, and in the same period of time, the RSI is moving in an upward direction. So what you see here is this is moving down, and this is moving up, right? So a little bit of divergence there. Not a whole lot. It's a little bit. I want to kind of see a little bit more. But that's the first thing that I'm watching. The next thing that I'm watching is the bottom's here. Now, there's a big difference between this bottom and this bottom, and that would be the fact that we are under the 200-day moving average on the weekly chart. In all times past, we can see that the 200-day moving average was a very good support for Bitcoin. Here, here, and here as well, right? And so for the first time, we're kind of falling under that, and so that's why it's a little bit risky here. We still don't know. Ideally, I want to see Bitcoin close a candle over this 8 EMA here. And you can see this has been a big resistance. We've only had one candle close over this since March, so it's been a very long time. It closed over here one time and then immediately sold off and failed the 200-day moving average on the weekly here, which you can see. Now, what I think we could see, though, if this is the bottom, is a very good high time frame relief bounce. We've had several low time frame relief bounces, and basically what that means is it sells off very rapidly, and then we get a day or two or maybe even a week of some upward movement, and it's just kind of a little bit of relief. It lets the EMAs and the MAs and the RSI and the MACD, it lets all these things cool off in order for it to come back down, which it does. But what I also see is a couple patterns forming. And by the way, if we do have this high time frame relief bounce, let's just draw some fibs here to see what this looks like at this point in time. So I'm just going to grab my fib tool and just measure from the top down. And where did that relief bounce go to? Well, it went right to the 618 to the 0.71. This is called the golden pocket. And then it sells off. So I very much anticipate the same thing happening here should we get this same type of relief bounce. So we can just draw from here. And that is kind of where I would expect it to go if we got this high time frame relief bounce, somewhere into the golden pocket, possibly even just the 0.5 at 35K. But looking at the CME chart right here, we also have a falling wedge. This is typically a bullish pattern. I also can see divergence where the RSI is pointing up and the price is pointing down. This is the futures chart. It closes on Fridays, opens again on Mondays. But we do have a little bit of bullish divergence possibly happening, and we also have a falling wedge happening, which if you look up on Google, look up a falling wedge, it is typically a bullish pattern. But only if it comes out of this and starts moving to the upside, we can see a big move. So that's something I'm watching for. This could come all the way down to the bottom of this wedge, right around 17.6 again, and come back up. And break out of that. So I want to watch for the break of 17.6 if we're going lower. I want to watch for this falling wedge to possibly break to the upside to potentially see some higher. If we look at the money supply for Bitcoin, this is an interesting metric. So instead of dividing Bitcoin by the US dollar, we can divide it by the current money supply that is available in the market. And if we do that, we're already down to this level here, which if you look at the regular Bitcoin chart, this is right around 12K. Well, if you've been on Twitter for a while or you've been hearing some other analysts, a lot of people have been calling for 12K. And while it is totally possible to see 12K, there are reasons to believe why we might not get there. Sort of like the same thing we said, like when we were at 70K, everybody was calling for 100K, right? And it never came. So kind of the same situation here. Everybody's calling for 12K. So it might not come. I would love it if it did, because I would be a buyer for sure. But we have to come to the reality of the situation here that we could potentially already have our bottom being in. Again, I want to make sure you understand. I want to see a close above an 8 EMA to even take a shot at that. And even if I did that, I would have my stop loss just below it to minimize my risk. So if we also look at this chart, there's a couple patterns that I see. I see a pattern called an Adam and Eve pattern, and it's when you get a pointy bottom followed by a round bottom. And you can see here in 2018-19, this signaled the bottom of Bitcoin. Okay. Now, if we go look at our current situation, we sort of have a similar pattern. So what can we expect? Well, it has to finish first. We have to finish this like cup structure. So it still has a ways to go before we could possibly see that. But again, this is something that I'm monitoring. I am not just throwing all my money at the market right now. I'm monitoring this. I'm starting to see things that I like to see. And if it plays out, awesome, we can make some money. If it doesn't, then we just have to keep waiting. We have to keep waiting for a sign that it's time to buy. Another thing that I like watching is the dollar index, and this has been the best performing asset this year. Well, what do I see? I see a huge move for the entirety of this year, right? But now what I'm seeing is the same pattern, but it's inverted. This is an inverted Adam and Eve pattern, which creates a lower high, and it's also at a very major fib, which is the 1.618. This is the golden ratio. It's a very important fib. So we could be rejecting this potentially. However, we are still over it at the moment, and it's also another thing that I'm watching closely. So with that, I hope you found this informational and valuable. If you liked it, please like my channel and subscribe, and I'm going to be making more videos coming in the future. I just got hit with a hurricane, so that's why I have not been making any videos, but I do plan on making some more. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be making some more instructional videos as well, teaching you how to use technicals on a chart. I have a Discord. I am in the DeFi Dojo, and you can find links to that in my bio on YouTube. Please tell me what you think about this video in the comments, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.